You are not at the end, you are at a turning page, and the ink is still wet. It's tempting to call the unfinished sentence a failure, but only the author knows where the story is headed. What looks like silence is often suspense. Don't judge the chapter while it's being written. A storm in the middle does not cancel the ending. Wounds don't mean you're ruined. They mean the fight mattered. The dark you're walking through isn't permanent. It's purposeful. Even twilight has a reason. Even waiting has weight. You think you've seen your full self, but you've only met the first draft. You're still becoming. You are the unedited truth in progress. Just because you can't see the purpose now doesn't mean there isn't one. Meaning does not rush. Purpose does not panic. Good stories never skip process. The questions you're carrying, they belong in the story too. Even doubt has a role. Even silence has a sound. You are not too late. You are not too far. You are not too broken. You're exactly in the middle of a sentence that still matters. You're not a mistake trying to be useful. You're a design waiting to unfold. There is no glory in rushing through your pages. There is wonder in reading them slowly. Learning is slow. Healing is slower. But wholeness never arrives in a hurry. Some chapters will feel like failure, but endings do not determine value. Even unfinished lines hold worth. Time is not your enemy, it's your editor, and growth is always written in present tense. The you that you haven't met yet is already loved, already known, already planned, so stop reading your story like it's over. Stop treating your life like it's a tombstone. It's a table of contents. Your tears are not wasted paragraphs. Your scars are not typos. They are proof that you continued, and the story is still unfolding. Which means you still have something to say, something to learn, something to become. You are not the end. You are the ellipsis, and there is more to come. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are simply. Mid-story, the middle feels like a mess because it is. The plot is tangled. The pace is slow. The progress feels invisible, but the middle is where meaning matures. It's where characters deepen. It's where motives get tested. We keep looking for a climax, but we forget even the greatest novels need long chapters of silence, of waiting, of wandering. You don't need to see the whole arc to trust the sentence. You just need to stay in the paragraph. Every line matters, even the ones that feel empty. Your confusion is not a flaw in the story. It's part of the design. You weren't made to understand everything at once. You were made to walk through it breath by breath. Step by step. The middle is not the place of failure. It's the place of formation. Your life is not a highlight reel. It is a full-length script, and right now the script is still unfolding. We're too quick to label seasons. This part doesn't count. This part broke me. This can't be from God. But the middle is never wasted, even when it hurts, even when it's quiet. The teacher is often silent during the test, not because they are gone, but because it's time for you to remember what was already taught. We keep asking, is this all there is? Shouldn't I be further by now? But life is not measured by how fast you reach an ending. It's measured by how honestly you show up in the middle. You were not meant to skip this part. You were meant to live it. So many walk away in the middle too tired, too confused, too convinced that the page won't turn. But the page always turns, not when you force it, but when the author is ready. If you feel stuck, it doesn't mean you are finished. It means you're in between what was and what will be. Growth is silent. Transformation is subtle. Mountains rise slowly. We romanticize breakthroughs. We underestimate the build-up. You think your story has stalled, but maybe it's just setting the stage. The next paragraph may be what changes everything. Don't mislabel the middle as meaningless. It may be the place where identity is formed, where fear is uprooted, where strength is made real. Endings don't create heroes. The middle does. You are living through the tension, the unanswered questions, the quiet development that no one sees. That doesn't mean you're failing. That means you're becoming, and what's becoming now will be revealed in a chapter you haven't read yet. You're not late. You're not lost. You're just in the long sentence that carries the weight of something sacred. We want clarity, but the story wants honesty, and honesty takes time. You're not finished because it hurts. You're not finished because it's slow. You're not finished because it feels uncertain. You're just in the middle of the page. And the ink hasn't dried yet. Let the story breathe. Let the silence speak. Let the waiting do its work. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are just mid-sentence, and the chapter is still being written. You're still in the middle, but now the middle starts to ache. The silence thickens. The questions multiply. And that's when you start to wonder, is this the end? Is this the part where the story breaks instead of builds? But pain is not a period. Confusion is not the final word. They are pauses, interruptions that still belong. A comma doesn't cancel the sentence. It creates space to breathe before continuing. Your sorrow may feel sharp, but it's not the summary of your existence. Your confusion may feel paralyzing, but it's not the compass of your identity. You are allowed to be unsure. You are allowed to feel the sting, because pain is not the proof that you're off course. It's often the sign that something deeper is being revealed. Growth never asks for your comfort first. It asks for your willingness, and willingness often feels like breaking, not because you're weak, but because you're being reshaped. You think this ache is abnormal, but in every story that mattered, there was a stretch of wilderness. No one walks through fire and leaves unchanged. No one climbs without trembling. No one grows without groaning. Pain does not end the process. It is the process. It interrupts the rhythm only to rewrite it with more depth. You cry in the dark, thinking you've been abandoned, but shadows don't exist without light nearby. Even now, you are being held in the hands of something intentional. Your tears are not lost. Your silence is not ignored. Your fear is not foreign to the one who wrote the sentence. You don't have to make sense of it all today. Healing is not about knowing everything. It's about trusting that something still matters in the middle of the unknown. You're not fragile for feeling pain. You're human. You're not weak for wrestling with your thoughts. You're alive. The lie says you should have healed by now, that you should smile through it, that you should be past this already. But the truth is simpler. You're allowed to be in process. You're allowed to still be working through it. You're allowed to be unfinished. There are commas where you wanted exclamation marks. There are pauses where you prayed for a breakthrough. But none of it is wasted. None of it is pointless. Even your brokenness belongs. Even your delay has dignity, because this part, this very pain you're carrying, is not the end of the sentence. It's a space for breath before the truth lands. The greatest lies are quiet ones. This will never change. You'll always feel this way. This must be who you are. But no identity is formed in confusion. It's only tested there, and no story ends at its lowest point. It only deepens there. Your emotions are real, but they are not the final author. Your fear may be loud, but it doesn't get the last word. There's more to come, not in spite of the pain, but because of it. You thought the struggle disqualified you, but it was the very evidence that you're still in it, still present, still alive. The sentence is still being written, and these commas, this ache, this fog are not signs of the story falling apart. They are the quiet proof that something is being made deeper than comfort. You are not lost. You are being led through mystery, not to confuse you, but to form you. You are not done. You are being reshaped mid-line. With punctuation that hurts, but with grammar that still leads to redemption. So don't close the book just because the line doesn't make sense yet. Let the sentence breathe. Let the comma hold, because your story is still becoming. You thought pain would mark the end, but it didn't. It paused you, slowed you, but did not erase you. You're still here. And because you're still here, the story continues. But now comes the harder part, the quiet stretch. The unremarkable season, the time when nothing seems to happen. No signs, no voice, just routine. And you wonder if you've slipped into a life that doesn't count. But hear this. Great stories rarely begin with greatness. They begin with ordinary days, with unseen faithfulness, with small decisions, with unnoticed courage. The best chapters often start in silence, not because nothing is happening, but because something is growing beneath the surface. Truth is slow, depth takes time, and the most important things usually arrive without noise. You think your life is too plain to be purposeful, but even miracles often arrive wearing mundane clothes. We've been trained to expect drama, to crave spotlight, to search for the spectacular, but purpose is not always loud. It's loyal. It shows up when no one else does. It keeps showing up when no one's watching. And those quiet, faithful moments, they are writing more story than applause ever could. You get out of bed even when you don't feel like it. You forgive when you still feel the sting. You try again when your hands still shake. That is where legacy lives, not in the headlines, but in the hallway. We're so quick to dismiss the in-between. We call it boring. We call it pointless. But time doesn't rush truth, and truth doesn't perform for the impatient. Your Tuesday matters just as much as your triumph. Your effort in the unseen places is not wasted, it's woven. You're planting seeds in a season that feels dry, but rain always returns, and roots don't ask for attention. They ask for patience. You don't need to be seen to be significant. You don't need to be understood to be valuable. You don't need fireworks to prove you're moving forward. Some of the greatest breakthroughs begin in kitchens, in classrooms, in cubicles, in quiet tears, in silent car rides home. You won't always recognize the holy as it happens. Sometimes it looks like dishes. Sometimes it looks like discipline. Sometimes it looks like choosing to stay. But ordinary is not empty. Ordinary is sacred space. It's where character is carved. It's where the story matures. You are not behind. You are not unimportant. You are just walking through a chapter that isn't meant to shout, but oh, how it will matter. Later, when you look back, you'll see that truth was being built in moments you almost dismissed. God writes depth in places we overlook, and meaning does not need to impress. It needs to endure, so keep showing up. Keep writing the line in front of you, even if it feels too plain, even if it's just another quiet sentence, because great stories don't start great, they grow great, and yours is no exception. You've walked through the silence. You've stood inside the ordinary. You've stayed even when the story felt slow. Now the pressure arrives, the weight to make sense of everything, to explain your path, to justify your delays, to prove you're okay. But hear me clearly, you were never asked to understand it all. You were asked to keep moving. The goal was never clarity. The goal was courage. We've made a habit of rushing the process, trying to outthink the pain, trying to predict what can only be lived, but life doesn't fit inside formulas. Healing doesn't follow a schedule. Wisdom doesn't come with shortcuts. You were not created to master the map. You were created to trust each step. Not blindly, but bravely. You want every question answered before you take a risk, but most clarity only comes after movement. It's okay if you don't know the whole picture. You weren't meant to. Some answers only unfold as you walk. You don't have to fake strength. You don't have to pretend you're sure. You only have to stay honest and keep going. You won't grow if you only move when it makes sense. Sometimes growth is walking with questions in both hands and still choosing forward. You've been taught to arrive polished, but real strength is forged in motion, in stumbling, in reevaluating, in choosing again after failure. The walk is not clean. It is full of turns. Detours, dead ends that become doorways, and that's okay, because you were made for the journey, not just the destination. Stop disqualifying yourself because you're unsure. Stop waiting to feel ready before you begin again. No one ever feels ready to become who they're meant to be. They just show up with their broken pieces, with their quiet hope, with their unfinished faith. You don't have to fix yourself before moving forward. You move forward and healing follows. You don't have to understand the lesson while it's happening. Some wisdom is only revealed in hindsight. You've mistaken uncertainty as weakness, but uncertainty is where the real transformation begins. When you walk without full understanding, you learn how to trust, you learn how to depend, you learn how to let go, and in that letting go you become someone who knows how to weather unknowns. You become someone who doesn't need to control everything to stay faithful. You become someone who carries peace even in fog. So don't curse the questions. Don't despise the parts you don't yet understand. They're shaping you in ways clarity never could. You think the goal is perfect knowledge, but the real gift is persistent presence, showing up again, even with trembling hands. You are not behind because you're confused. You are not less because you're learning. You are not weak because you cry along the way. You are walking your way into wisdom, and there's no shortcut to that. So keep going, with open hands, with an open heart. Even with unanswered prayers, this is not a test of knowledge. This is a journey of trust. You were never asked to figure it all out. You were simply asked to walk through it, one real, honest, human step at a time.